So again, the question, how best to prevent these types of incidents? As you might imagine, the debate is an emotional one here in the United States. I'm now joined by two men with very different viewpoints. Guy Smith is in Mountain View, California. He believes gun rights are being trampled. Elliot Fineman is in Chicago. He advocates for stricter gun control and says current laws aren't being enforced enough. First question to Elliot, and then Guy, I want you to weigh in as well. Is it a good idea to arm these teachers?
I think it's a ridiculous idea, and it's the typical fantasy of the pro-gun side that someone carrying a gun who's inexperienced in a amazing moment when somebody bursts in shooting is going to calmly get their gun and bring down the shooter. The notion of it is utterly absurd, and it's been demonstrated. There were armed guards at Columbine High School. There was a whole armed police force at Virginia Tech, and they had no ability to do anything. I've spoken to 3 people who were in classrooms that were shot at Virginia Tech. They fortunately survived. Not one of them said that it would have made a difference or would have wanted to have had a gun, you know, at that moment.
So Elliot says this is ridiculous and absurd. Guy, I want to give you a chance to answer as well. What would you say?
In these kind of environments, we're worried about one of 2 types of shooters. We're worried about criminals or lunatics. Neither of these classes of people really pay attention to laws, but we do know that at least with the criminals, there's a deterrence effect when they believe that somebody might be armed. Criminologists have been breaking into prisons for years to interview these kind of people, and it is their belief that if there's a possibility that somebody is armed, be it in their home, be it in their school, be it in their workplace, then they're less likely to take any kind of action. So even though the number of school shootings has been declining over the last 2 decades, and in the last year only 17 people died in a K-12 school in the United States, arming the teachers would possibly add a deterrence effect.
Well, Guy, let me ask you this then. It's an undeniable fact that of all the developed countries, Americans own more guns than any other, and we've got statistics to prove it. It's estimated that for every 100 people in the United States, there are 101 guns owned. That's more guns than there are people. You see the stats here, Germany, Mexico, Russia, China, all the way down to Japan. They just don't stack up to what the United States has in terms of these statistics. How many guns are needed?
It's not a matter of whether guns are needed or how many are needed. It's the behavior of the people who own them. If you look at the firearm homicide rate for all the countries in the world, the United States firearm homicide rate is lower than the worldwide average. Go to Gunfacts.info, look at the chapter on guns in other countries. You'll see an amazing chart there which shows that even though we have more guns than anyone else, we actually have a lower firearm homicide rate than most other countries.
So the question then, Elliot, are there enough guns, not enough guns? How do you see this issue?
Well, first of all, these are the most remarkable quotes of statistics that I've ever heard. It's utterly clear that we have the highest rate of gun homicides of developed countries. Yes, if you want to compare us to Somalia or places, you know, where there's absolutely no civilized development, sure. We're lower than them, but for any developed country, we have the highest rates of gun homicide. So that's pretty remarkable to have that quote offered. Additionally, the reality is that the to give I guess the most impartial view of this. The state of Kansas in June, after Columbine, in June 2013, passed a law that everyone could bring guns to schools. That was teachers, janitors, everybody who worked there, because they thought, you know, they bought into this notion that a good guy, whatever that is, can stop a bad guy with a gun. And they passed that law, and about 3 weeks later, EMC, the insurance company, that insures all the schools, all the school districts there, said, well, we can't tell a school district whether to have a gun or not have a gun, but we can't insure any school districts that have guns. We can't take the financial risk. In other words, here's an impartial player, I guess is the best way to describe it, saying that they know the reality of people carrying guns in the school as an insurance company. When they study that, that's too risky for them to insure.
I'm afraid we're going to have to leave it there, gentlemen. We've run out of time, but thank you both for joining us. Certainly a lively debate and one that's not going to go away anytime soon. Up next, all the top stories of the day, and not only the United States that is reeling under a winter spell, nature is wreaking havoc in other parts of the world as well.
CCTV America.
We cover the Americas with the difference.
More than 30 correspondents across North, Central, and South America.
From here in Bogota, Colombia, we travel north and south to provide the most comprehensive coverage of the region. Here in